It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when little Benedetta, only 5 years old, was walking between the stalls of a crowded local market, tightly holding her mother Emma's arm and her father Pietro's arm. The laughter of people mixed with the chatter, and the air was fresh, yet full of energy. The whole neighborhood seemed to be out buying fresh food, toys, and handmade goods. For Benedetta, every time she came to the market with her parents, it was an adventure. But this time would change her life forever. Walking between the stalls, Benedetta's eyes stopped on something that seemed out of place in the chaos of the market. A huge German shepherd was chained to a pole near a stand at the corner of the market. He didn't seem to be with anyone. He was alone, sad, and the look in the dog's eyes revealed nothing less than a deep sadness. His ears were lowered, his fur was messy, and his skinny body seemed to tell a story of abandonment and loneliness. "Look, Mom, that dog is so sad," said Benedetta, her voice unable to hide her concern. Emma followed her daughter's gaze and immediately noticed the condition of the dog. Her heart tightened, knowing how sensitive Benedetta was toward animals in distress. There was no doubt that the little girl felt the need to help him. "Okay, honey, let's go see him, but stay close to me," replied Emma, trying to keep her tone calm as she approached the dog. Benedetta knelt next to him, her hand reaching out to the dog. "Hey, hi there, handsome," she said softly, trying to gain the animal's trust. The dog cautiously sniffed the air, slightly raising his ears but didn't pull back. On the contrary, he slowly moved closer and rested his muzzle on Benedetta's hand. The little girl smiled. "You look so sad. Don't worry, I'm here with you," she whispered, her eyes full of tenderness. Benedetta couldn't take her eyes off the dog, who was now wagging his tail slightly. It seemed that her heart had completely been won over by this lonely dog. But Emma, while understanding her daughter's reaction, also knew that taking care of a dog, especially one that seemed to have been abandoned and mistreated, would not be easy. "Benedetta, be careful. He might be scared," warned Emma, trying to be cautious, even though her heart couldn't help but feel a strong empathy for the dog. Benedetta nodded, but her attention remained entirely on him. She stood up, looked around, and noticed a vendor not far away who seemed to be the dog's owner. The man was busy serving customers, almost completely ignoring the animal. Benedetta timidly approached him. "Excuse me, sir, is this your dog?" she asked, her eyes filled with hope. The vendor barely looked at her, giving a distracted gesture. "Yes, he's mine. But that dog is useless. No one wants him. He's just a burden," he said indifferently, as if the dog were just an unimportant commodity. Benedetta's heart broke. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Can I pet him?" she asked timidly. The vendor shrugged, visibly bored. Benedetta returned to the dog, who was still watching the scene, and gently extended her hand. To her surprise, the dog didn't pull away. On the contrary, he rested his head on her touch, wagging his tail slightly. Benedetta smiled, her heart melted, and she realized that the bond was already starting to form. In the following weekends, Benedetta and her parents regularly returned to the market, and each time the little girl spent more and more time with the dog, whom she named Creed. Every time she arrived, Creed seemed to recognize her, and his eyes would light up as soon as he saw her. Benedetta would spend whole minutes with him, petting him and talking to him. Her parents started noticing the bond that was developing between their daughter and the dog, and they began discussing the possibility of adopting him. They knew it wouldn't be easy. Creed needed urgent medical care, and he probably wasn't ready to be brought into a home. But Emma and Pietro couldn't ignore Benedetta's unwavering determination, and every time she spoke of the dog, her eyes would light up. After speaking with the vendor, who seemed eager to get rid of the dog, they agreed without hesitation to bring Creed home. The vendor, quick and impatient, quickly freed the dog from the chain without any objections. Benedetta, happy and moved, freed Creed and led him to the car. "Come home with us," she whispered as she petted him. During the ride home, Benedetta stayed next to Creed, who rested his head on her lap. The little girl didn't yet know how extraordinary this bond would become. She had just saved a dog, but she didn't imagine this was just the beginning of an incredible chapter in her life. Bringing Creed home was a moment of great joy, but it didn't take long before the family realized the difficulties. Creed, with his messy fur and visible ribs, had suffered bad experiences, and this was reflected in his behavior. In the first days, the dog was shy, wary of the new environment. He would flinch at sudden movements and curl up every time someone tried to pet him. It was clear he had many traumas to face before he could fully trust again. Benedetta, however, didn't lose heart. She spent every possible moment by Creed's side, trying to comfort him and reassure him. She would sit next to him, read him books, and tell him about her day. His small stature seemed to comfort him, and gradually Creed began to show signs of trust. He would lean into her hand every time Benedetta petted him, and he started following her around the house. But his behavior remained unpredictable. The family then decided to seek help from a professional. They decided to contact Dr. Esposito, an animal behaviorist experienced with traumatized dogs. The doctor visited the family's home and closely observed Creed's behavior. After examining the dog, Dr. Esposito explained, "This dog has been through a lot. His unpredictable behavior is a result of the trauma he has suffered. He needs consistent training to feel safe." Dr. Esposito provided the family with a training plan based on positive reinforcement and gradual exposure to new experiences. The following weeks were a long process of patience and perseverance. There were days when Creed made significant progress, responding well to commands and even playing ball with Benedetta. But there were also setbacks. Sometimes the dog would growl or snap if he felt threatened or cornered. However, the family never lost hope. One day, while Benedetta and Creed were playing in the garden, the dog approached her with a ball in his mouth, wagging his tail happily. It was the first time that Creed initiated a spontaneous game, and Benedetta's heart filled with joy. She threw the ball, and Creed chased after it, barking happily. Pietro and Emma watched from the veranda, satisfied with the progress Creed was making. The journey to rehabilitate the dog was still long, but the bond between Benedetta and Creed was bearing fruit. Every small step forward strengthened Benedetta's love and determination. Her dog was no longer a traumatized and abandoned animal, but a family member starting to thrive. The next day, while Benedetta was playing in the garden, a loud noise interrupted the afternoon calm. The neighbor's cat, startled by the roar of an engine, darted across the garden, causing Creed to go into a fury. The dog bolted after the cat, barking furiously. Benedetta, worried, tried to stop him, but in the chaos, she didn't notice the car coming quickly down the street. Pietro and Emma saw Sophia chasing after Creed and shouted, but their voices were drowned out by the sound of the car and the dog's barking. At that moment, Creed's protective instinct kicked in. The dog sensed the danger before Sophia did and, with a powerful leap, pushed her out of the car's path. The vehicle stopped suddenly, with the driver's face pale from shock. Benedetta was stunned but unharmed, holding on to Creed, who stood beside her, looking at her gently. That act of courage forever changed Creed's place in the family. He was no longer seen only as a dog rescued from a difficult past, but as a loyal protector, willing to do anything to keep his family safe. Despite the love that now created an unbreakable bond between Benedetta and Creed, the dog's past was not completely over. One day, during a walk in the park, while Benedetta held Creed's leash and enjoyed the beautiful weather, something unexpected happened. Creed suddenly stopped and began growling. Benedetta looked up and saw a man approaching them. It was the same vendor who had once chained Creed at the market. The man's eyes narrowed when he recognized the dog. A sneer appeared on his face as he approached in a threatening manner. "So, this is where you ended up, huh?" said the man with a venomous laugh. Benedetta tightened the leash on Creed, feeling the dog stiffen beside her. It was evident that the dog was sensing the threat, and the tension was palpable. However, Benedetta gathered her courage, knowing that she had to protect Creed, just as he had protected her. "Creed is my dog now," Benedetta replied firmly, looking the man in the eyes, "and you can't take him." The man, however, didn't take it well. With another sneer, he said that he was the rightful owner and that Benedetta had no right to keep the dog. But Benedetta didn't back down. "You didn't take care of him. You didn't deserve him. He deserves better," she said, trying to stay calm, even though her heart was racing in her chest. Creed, who had been growling angrily until that moment, positioned himself protectively in front of Benedetta, barking loudly. The man stepped forward, trying to intimidate the little girl, but she wasn't scared. "I won't give him to you," she said firmly. "We have proof of how you treated him." The man glared at her for a moment, then turned and walked away, muttering quietly, without making any further threats. Benedetta sighed in relief, but her heart was still racing. She knelt beside Creed and hugged him tightly, trying to calm herself. "It's okay. He'll never hurt you again," she whispered as the dog looked at her with eyes full of love and protection. The encounter shook her, but at the same time, it strengthened her resolve. She knew she would do anything to protect Creed, to keep that dark past away, and to give her dog a better life. One Saturday afternoon, the local community organized an animal fair and a dog show. Benedetta, along with her parents, decided to participate, seeing the event as an opportunity to show everyone the progress Creed had made. Benedetta's family was excited at the idea of sharing with others how much the dog had changed and how he had become a part of their lives. The fair was filled with activities, colorful stalls lining the park, offering pet products, treats, and information on how to care for four-legged friends. The air was full of sounds, excited barking, children laughing, and conversations between pet owners. Benedetta felt happy, seeing Creed walking beside her. The dog seemed to be smiling as he enjoyed the environment, finally at peace and free from fear. They passed by an area advertising a dog agility competition. Benedetta's eyes lit up as she noticed the course with tunnels, jumps, and poles to go through. "Can we try it, Mom?" she asked enthusiastically, looking at Emma. Her mom smiled, encouraging her to participate. The instructor greeted them warmly, asking if they wanted to see if Creed had hidden talents. Benedetta nodded excitedly as the instructor led them toward the agility course. "Let's start with some basic agility exercises and see how Creed handles it," suggested the instructor. With a signal from Benedetta, Creed took off. His agility was surprising. The dog jumped effortlessly over obstacles, zipped through the poles, and ran through the tunnels with speed and precision that left everyone breathless. The crowd around them watched in awe, applauding as Creed completed the course in record time. Benedetta beamed with pride, smiling as she watched her dog shine before everyone. News of Creed's hidden talent spread quickly among the attendees, and people who had previously only seen him as a rescued dog now looked at him with admiration, like a rising star in the world of agility. Benedetta's family received numerous offers from trainers and agility clubs, all eager to help Creed reach his full potential. Despite Creed's success, the family's enthusiasm was soon overshadowed by a worrying development. Creed's previous owner, encouraged by the talent the dog was showing, began to intensify his threats. He started showing up at the park during training sessions, shouting that Creed belonged to him and that he would take him back by any means. Benedetta's parents, Emma and Pietro, began to worry about the safety of their daughter and Creed's well-being. They didn't want the situation to escalate, and they realized they needed to take legal action to permanently protect Creed. It was clear that the man wouldn't give up easily. They contacted an attorney specializing in animal rights, Mrs. Alfieri, who listened carefully to their story and reassured them that they would do everything possible to ensure the dog's safety. "The key will be to gather as much evidence as possible of the abuse Creed suffered in the past and show that he is now thriving under your care," said Mrs. Alfieri. Marta and Pietro immediately set to work, collecting all the evidence they could. They took photos of Creed's condition when they had found him, with his matted fur, protruding ribs, and sad eyes. They also gathered veterinary records documenting his health improvements and testimonies from neighbors, friends, and trainers who had witnessed Creed's transformation. Benedetta, wanting to do her part, wrote a detailed letter describing her bond with Creed and the positive changes she had seen in him. "Creed is my best friend," she wrote. "He saved my life, and I love him. Please don't let anyone take him away from me." The legal battle turned out to be challenging. The hearing date approached and the tension grew. As if that wasn't enough, the local agility competition was just around the corner, an important event where Creed could further demonstrate how well he had integrated into his new life. Benedetta and Creed continued to train, but every time the previous owner appeared nearby, Benedetta felt her heart race. However, she always found strength in the love she felt for Creed and her determination to protect him at all costs. On the day of the competition, the air was electric. Dozens of dogs and their owners had gathered, ready to compete. While they waited for their turn, Benedetta noticed the previous owner glaring at them from a distance. Benedetta took a deep breath and focused on Creed. "We can do it," she whispered to him. Creed faced the obstacles with speed and agility that left everyone in awe. When they crossed the finish line, the crowd erupted in enthusiastic applause. Benedetta smiled, proud of him. Creed wagged his tail enthusiastically, while the competition judges, impressed by his talent, approached to congratulate them. "You and Creed make an incredible team," said one of them, a renowned dog trainer. "Creed is an extraordinary dog, and you've done a fantastic job with him." Finally, the day of the hearing arrived. Benedetta held Creed's leash tightly as the previous owner sat in the courtroom, frowning and muttering. Mrs. Alfieri presented the case with confidence, highlighting all the progress Creed had made thanks to the love and care from Benedetta's family. The judge carefully examined the photographs, veterinary records, and testimonies. When Benedetta's letter was read aloud, it moved many people in the room. Finally, the judge addressed the previous owner. "The evidence clearly shows that Creed was neglected and mistreated under your care. He has flourished with his new family, and it is in his best interest to remain with them." The previous owner protested, but the judge was firm. "Your actions show that you are unfit to care for this dog," he declared. "The court rules that Creed will remain permanently with Benedetta's family." This was a significant victory for Benedetta and her family. But the story didn't end there. After the hearing, the judge ordered an investigation into the previous owner. What emerged from that investigation shocked everyone. The man had a history of animal abuse. Several others came forward to testify against him. Thank you for listening to this story. What do you think? Write it in the comments. And if you liked it, leave a like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. See you soon with a new story.